The Wang-Nam Empire prepared its greatest trap. But no one realized the trap had already been set for them. Because while Luna hunted one traitor, another was already moving inside the palace. And before the night ended, 3 betrayals would change the empire forever. Night settled over the capital of the Wang-Nam Empire. But this night was different. Torches burned brighter along the palace walls. Guards stood in double formations. Hidden archers waited on rooftops. And inside the palace, the council gathered. To anyone watching from outside, the evening looked normal. A routine council assembly. A meeting of the empire's most powerful minds. But in reality, it was a trap. Because earlier that day, Luna and Wu Bin had uncovered proof that Minister Daehyun was secretly working with Baeksan. The message intercepted from his courier confirmed everything. A coordinated attack was coming. And the target was not the city. Not the army. Not the palace. The target was the council itself. Baeksan planned to eliminate the leadership of the entire empire in one single strike. But Luna and Wu Bin had decided to do something dangerous. Instead of stopping the attack, they would let it happen. Because if the attackers entered the palace, they could expose the entire spy network in one move. Every infiltrator. Every traitor. Every hidden agent. Tonight the empire would either destroy Baeksan's influence or collapse completely. But there was something Luna still couldn't shake. A quiet thought that refused to disappear. Because one question still remained unanswered. If Daehyun was the traitor, why did he look so confident this morning? Almost relaxed. Almost satisfied. As if he already knew something the others didn't. And if that was true, then tonight's trap might not belong to Luna and Wu Bin at all. It might belong to him. Inside the council chamber, the atmosphere was tense. Generals reviewed reports. Advisors whispered quietly. Messengers waited near the door. At the head of the table sat Wu Bin. His expression calm. But inside, he was calculating every detail. Hidden guards were stationed throughout the palace. Elite soldiers waited behind secret doors. Archers were positioned above the chamber ceiling. If Baeksan agents tried to attack, they would walk straight into a fortress. Across the table, Minister Daehyun appeared perfectly composed. He folded his hands and listened to the discussions like nothing was wrong. Like tonight wasn't the most dangerous night in the empire's history. Luna watched him carefully. Every movement. Every blink. Every breath. But she couldn't find any sign of panic. No hesitation. No nervousness. Only confidence. And that worried her. Because men about to be exposed usually make mistakes. Daehyun wasn't making any. Finally he spoke. Your Majesty. Wu Bin looked up. Yes, Minister. Daehyun smiled politely. Are we expecting guests tonight? The room went silent. Because the question sounded casual. But the meaning behind it was razor sharp. And in that moment, Luna realized something terrifying. Daehyun might already know about the trap. Daehyun had been exposed as a traitor. But instead of arresting him, Luna and Wu Bin chose something far more dangerous. They let him continue. Because tonight, Baeksan was coming. Outside the palace walls, shadows moved silently. Figures dressed in dark armor slipped through the city streets. They avoided patrol routes. They avoided lantern light. They moved like professionals. Because these weren't ordinary soldiers. They were assassins from Baeksan. Trained specifically for one purpose. Decapitation strikes. Take out leadership. Collapse command. Create chaos. The leader of the group raised a hand. They stopped near the outer palace gate. Then he pulled out a small metal device. A signaling mirror. He flashed it twice toward the palace tower. Inside the tower. Someone responded. A faint reflection blinked back. Confirmation. The assassins smiled. Because it meant their inside contact was ready. The palace defenses were about to weaken. The gates would soon open. And the entire leadership of the Wang-Nam Empire would die within the hour. But the assassins didn't know something. Someone else had seen the signal. A palace guard hidden on the rooftop. It was small, almost invisible. But in a night like this, even a mistake could be intentional. And the moment he saw the flash, he ran to warn Luna. Because the attack had officially begun. Every move was calculated. Every entrance watched. Every shadow, prepared. What Luna didn't know was that someone inside the palace was watching her instead. The guard burst into the chamber. Lady Luna. All heads turned. The signal was given outside the eastern wall. Luna nodded. Positions. Immediately hidden doors opened. Elite soldiers quietly moved into place. The council members stared in shock. Some had not been told about the trap. Wu Bin stood. Remain calm. The situation is under control. But Luna was watching Dae-hyun again. Because she expected him to panic. To try escaping. To show fear. Instead, he leaned back in his chair. And smiled. That smile made Luna's stomach tighten. Because it wasn't the smile of a trapped man. It was the smile of someone watching a plan unfold exactly as expected. Then Dae-hyun spoke again. Softly. Almost casually. I suppose the game has begun. The council chamber froze. Wu Bin's voice turned cold. Yes. It has. And with that, soldiers stepped forward. Surrounding Dae-hyun. The traitor had just been exposed. Or at least. That's what everyone thought. Because the moment the guards grabbed him, Dae-hyun started laughing. The laughter echoed across the chamber. Not desperate. Not nervous. Confident. Dangerously confident. Wu Bin stepped closer. You've been working with Baek-san. Dae-hyun didn't deny it. He simply nodded. Yes. Gasps filled the room. Some council members looked horrified. Others furious. Wu Bin continued. You leaked our military plans. Yes. You organized tonight's attack. Again Dae-hyun nodded. Yes. The confession was shockingly easy. Too easy. Luna felt the tension rising again. Because something was wrong. Traitors usually try to escape. Or bargain. Or lie. Dae-hyun was doing none of those things. Instead he leaned forward slightly. And asked a question. Tell me something, Your Majesty. Wu Bin said nothing. Dae-hyun continued. Did you really think I was the only one? The room went completely silent. That sentence changed everything. Because if Dae-hyun wasn't the only traitor, then someone else was already inside the trap. And slowly, very slowly, Dae-hyun turned his head. Looking around the council table. Studying each face. Then he smiled again. Some of you have done a very good job hiding. Luna's pulse spiked. Because the implication was terrifying. There wasn't just one traitor. There were more. Inside the council. Right now. Before anyone could respond. A loud explosion shook the palace walls. The windows rattled. Dust fell from the ceiling. A guard rushed into the chamber. Enemy forces inside the courtyard. Shouts erupted. Steel clashed in the distance. Baeksan assassins had breached the outer gate. Wu Bin immediately gave orders. Seal the inner corridors. Archers to the upper levels. Protect the council chamber. The trap had officially turned into a battle. But Luna barely heard the commands. Because she was still staring at Daehyun. Every move was calculated. Every entrance watched. Every shadow, prepared. What Luna didn't know was that someone inside the palace was watching her instead. You said there were others. He nodded calmly. Yes. Who? Daehyun tilted his head. You'll see. Then he looked directly at someone across the table. A long, deliberate look. And Luna followed his gaze. Her heart nearly stopped. Because the person he was looking at was General Song-jae, the commander of the Capital Guard. The man responsible for protecting the palace. The man who had organized tonight's defenses. And slowly, Song-jae stood up. The entire room stared. Because General Song-jae had served the empire for 15 years. He had fought in dozens of battles. He had saved the capital twice. He was one of Wu Bin's most trusted commanders. And now, he was smiling. A slow, unsettling smile. Luna's voice was barely a whisper. General. Song-jae didn't answer her. Instead he looked at Wu Bin. You always trusted too easily. Several council members jumped from their seats. Guards raised their weapons. Wu Bin's expression hardened. You're working with Baeksan too. Song-jae shrugged. Let's just say our interests align. The realization hit the room like lightning. The commander of the palace defenses had just switched sides. Which meant something horrifying. The palace trap Luna and Wu Bin prepared might not work anymore. Because the man who designed the defense plan was the enemy. And the battle outside the chamber was getting louder. Closer. Faster. Baeksan's assassins were advancing. And suddenly the council realized something terrifying. The palace defenses might already be compromised. Song-jae slowly removed his ceremonial cloak. Underneath it, he wore light combat armor. He had been prepared for this moment. Prepared for battle inside the palace itself. Wu Bin's voice was ice cold. You coordinated tonight's attack. Song-jae nodded. Daehyun provided the information. And I made sure the defenses had weaknesses. A chill spread through the room. Because that meant something awful. The trap Luna and Wu Bin built was actually helping Baeksan. Song-jae stepped backward. Toward the chamber doors. And then he said something even worse. Your soldiers are fighting the wrong battle right now. Luna's mind raced. What do you mean? Song-jae smiled. The real attack hasn't even started yet. Before anyone could stop him, he pulled a small device from his belt and smashed it on the floor. A cloud of thick black smoke exploded across the chamber. Guards shouted. Swords were drawn. And when the smoke cleared, Song-jae was gone. Escaped. Inside the palace. heading toward something important. Something dangerous. And that's when Luna realized. This attack was never meant to succeed. It was meant to move the guards. And her blood ran cold. Because if Song-jae reached that location, the entire empire would lose its leader in minutes. The real attack wasn't outside. It was inside the palace. Luna grabbed Wu Bin's arm. He's going to the throne wing. Wu Bin understood instantly. Because the throne wing contained something critical. The royal command seal. With that seal, anyone could issue official orders to the empire's armies. If Song-jae captured it, Baek-san could manipulate the entire military. Wu Bin turned to the guards. Secure Dae-hyun. Then he looked at Luna. We stop Song-jae. They ran. Through narrow corridors. Past fighting soldiers. Through the chaos spreading across the palace. Baek-san assassins were clashing with imperial guards in multiple hallways. Steel rang. Torches fell. Shouts echoed. But Luna kept moving. Because if Song-jae reached the throne chamber first, the war might already be lost. And then something unexpected happened. As they turned a corner, a wounded guard collapsed in front of them. He grabbed Luna's sleeve. More traitors. Luna froze. Where? The guard pointed weakly. The inner gate opened from inside. Her mind went cold. Because that meant only one thing. There was still another traitor. Luna and Wu Bin reached the throne corridor. But the scene waiting there was shocking. Imperial guards were already fighting. Not against Baek-san assassins. Against each other. Two groups of palace soldiers clashed violently in the hallway. Wu Bin shouted. Stand down. But the fighting continued. Because one group of soldiers had switched sides. And leading them was someone Luna never expected. Advisor Min-jun. The youngest member of the council. The quiet strategist who rarely spoke. The man everyone considered harmless. He stood in the corridor calmly. Holding a sword. Surrounded by Baek-san agents. Luna stared in disbelief. You too? Min-jun nodded slightly. I'm afraid so. Wu Bin stepped forward. You sat in this council for years. Min-jun's voice remained calm. Yes. And all that time, you served Baek-san. Not exactly. Min-jun tilted his head thoughtfully. I served whoever was going to win. The words hit like a hammer. Because it meant something deeply unsettling. This wasn't just betrayal. It was opportunism. Min-jun had never been loyal to anyone. He simply waited for the strongest side. And tonight, he believed Baek-san would win. But the most terrifying part was still coming. Because Min-jun smiled slightly and said, General Song-jae should be arriving soon. The throne chamber doors were only meters away. If Song-jae reached them, the royal command seal would fall into enemy hands. Wu Bin drew his sword. Move. Battle erupted instantly. Imperial guards loyal to Wu Bin clashed with the traitor soldiers. Luna fought through the chaos, pushing forward. But Min-jun stepped directly into her path. You're impressive, Luna. She didn't slow down. You're dead. Min-jun parried her strike easily. I doubt that. Behind them, the corridor battle raged. Steel against steel. But time was running out. Because footsteps echoed from the far end of the hallway. Heavy. Fast. Approaching. Song-jae. He appeared moments later. Breathing hard but smiling. You made it this far. Woo-bin stepped between him and the throne doors. It ends here. Song-jae laughed. Actually, it's just beginning. Then he looked past Woo-bin. Toward the throne chamber. And shouted a single command. Open it. The massive doors slowly began to move. But no one in the corridor had touched them. Doors that should never open, opened. Paths that didn't exist, were cleared. Which meant only one thing. Someone inside the throne chamber was helping them. The throne chamber doors opened fully. Torchlight spilled into the corridor. And standing inside was the palace chamberlain. The man responsible for guarding the royal seal. An elderly servant who had served the royal family for decades. Woo-bin stared in disbelief. You. The chamberlain bowed politely. My apologies, Your Majesty. Then he stepped aside, revealing the pedestal behind him, where the royal command seal rested. Unprotected. Song-jae grinned. Thank you. But before he could enter the chamber, Luna moved. Faster than anyone expected. She threw a dagger across the hallway. It struck the chamberlain's hand. He screamed and dropped the key device controlling the doors. The doors slammed shut again, cutting Song-jae off from the seal. But the corridor was still filled with enemies. And the battle was far from over. Because Baeksan's assassins were still advancing through the palace. And the council chamber behind them was now almost completely unguarded. The situation had become chaos. 3 traitors exposed. Dae-hyun, Song-jae, Min-jun, and possibly even more hidden agents. Baeksan forces were still inside the palace. The council was vulnerable. The throne chamber barely protected. And the battle in the corridor continued to rage. Woo-bin blocked Song-jae's strike. Steel clashed violently. You betrayed your empire. Song-jae replied calmly. No. I betrayed a dying empire. Behind him, Min-jun continued fighting Luna. You can't stop this, he said. Baeksan has already won. Dae-hyun didn't just betray the empire. He coordinated with someone inside it. Luna didn't respond. Because she was watching something else. Something strange. The chamberlain who had opened the throne doors earlier was crawling away, trying to escape. And as he did, a hidden dagger slipped from his sleeve. Not aimed at Luna. Not aimed at Woo-bin. Aimed directly at the throne chamber doors. Luna's eyes widened. Because if that dagger struck the mechanism, the doors would reopen. And Song-jae would finally reach the royal seal. But Luna was too far away to stop it. And the chamberlain had already thrown the blade. The dagger flew through the air. Spinning. Glinting in torchlight. Heading straight for the door mechanism. Woo-bin was locked in combat with Song-jae. Luna was still fighting Min-jun. Neither could reach it in time. And if the doors opened, Baeksan would gain control of the Wang-Nam Empire's armies. The room that controlled the empire was now its weakest point. But just before the dagger struck its target, another blade appeared. A sword flashed through the air, deflecting the dagger, saving the door mechanism. Everyone turned. Because the person holding that sword was someone no one expected to see. Someone who wasn't supposed to be in the palace at all. Captain Han. The first traitor. The man who had been captured days earlier. Standing alive. Free. And holding a weapon. Which meant only one terrifying possibility. The prison had been breached. This wasn't a battle. It was an execution. And the man who started the first betrayal had just returned to the battlefield. But the real question was far more dangerous. Had Nam come back to help Wu Bin? Or to finish the job he started? Luna stopped reacting. And started thinking. She identifies pattern. Attacks too coordinated. Timing too perfect. Someone still feeding info in real time. Which meant one thing. The second traitor was still inside the palace. The person protecting Wu Bin was the one who led the assassins to him. This was never about one betrayal. It was about control. Even now. This still isn't the full plan. Because if 3 betrayals happened in one night, then the war wasn't beginning. It had already started. And the next move would decide who rules the empire.